The beard pop filter is built in. That's a bio pop filter.
Bro, yo, Ali, let me tell you, man.
Oh, hold on. Yo, we live, and then you can tell them. Yo, listen to the BeatPPL Podcast. We live right now.
Yo, I'm
episode 61. I got the crew in the spot. Ali, D Steele, Ken Flux Pierce, and me, Bboytech. So what up, fellas?
Man, this show is gonna be a hot mess.
Yo, it is. Yo, I'm getting tired of my beard, dog. The other morning.
What?
No, check this out. Not like the regular beard. Like it's getting to the place where like I haven't been to a barbershop. So, yo, like the lineup is not good, yo.
Look, bro, I have to go every week. If I don't go every week, I feel like baby Chewbacca.
No, dude, I feel the same way. And bro, the other day I was washing my face. I remember I just gotten up. I washed my face. I looked up in the mirror, and I was like, "Yo, I look like Tom Hanks in Castaway, yo." Yeah, like it was bad.
That's why you gotta have your own clippers just for those days. You just do a little lineup. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I don't trust myself, man. I feel like I'll shave my eyebrow off by mistake. Like. At least I'll be home. I ain't going nowhere. But
actually, that's why I stopped wearing stopped letting my mustache grow. I was going to work one day. It was years ago, and I was shaving just before, and zoop one side, and I was like, I had to cut the whole thing and go to work. So it's added sense. Yeah, man, it's good to see y'all. Good to talk to y'all. It's been crazy out here in these wild streets.
Yeah. I've been ghosted a little bit, you know, just taking care of stuff, you know.
Nah, I feel you.
Swallowing microphones.
Man, is that better?
That's much better.
All right, cool.
That's better. Like, you can't hear you, huh?
Nah, I'm good. I can.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, what you been into, man? Tell us about, because you've been doing some dope stuff. Tell us about that joint you did in February, the festival you went over to. How you say
it was the Uncloud Festival in Utrecht.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty.
They taught you how to say it.
Yeah, I had to figure out how to say it right. You know, I didn't want to be saying it like American Utrecht. You know,
nah, dog. I would have been 100% American over there. Let me get a cheeseburger and a Coca-Cola.
Nah, it was really dope. The festival was super cool. So it was this old like mental institution prison, right?
Wow.
And it was it was active up until like a year ago, right? The show just closed. Like the the CCTV system was still in place, or they did some hacks and like connected the whole CCTV network, and then they put it on all of these monitors. And this was just like one of the exhibitions, right? So in a whole bunch of the prison cells, there were like all these different exhibitions of people's artwork and like really dope stuff, right? Yeah. And then the big there was this hall, or it was like the gymnasium, and that's kind of where we performed. It was three of us. They
ain't try to keep you in there though?
Nah, it was really wild. It was a wild place to be. And then like we ate food in the kitchen, and it was like the prison kitchen, and it was wild. Yeah.
Yo, it was really Aaron cool though. With you then, because we wouldn't want you to be over there by yourself. And they'd be like, we just gonna keep this one.
That joint sound like a gangster amusement park.
You brought your wife over, didn't you?
It was it was just me and Aaron.
Oh, okay. And I thought she went too. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, man, that's like, baby, we go into Europe. Except
it was cool. I was with the homie Allard. I was with the homie Allard. So Allard's the homie. I know he wouldn't put me in any danger. So we was all good. Y'all scared over there.
I mean, I'm in Europe all the time, man. Like I get it.
No, you painted a wild picture of it, though, man. It sounds like a horror flick for beats.
That's like something that I would do than you would do.
Yeah, and then the whole setup was really, really cool, though. I remember the sound man Mike. He was real cool. You know what I'm saying? Had everything sounding real crispy, and
nice.
They had a nice live feed. Yeah, everything was set up really nice, man. It was just a good time, and yeah, I had a lot of fun over there actually.
Nope.
Played the set. I was pretty happy with how the set came out. I kind of had it set up so that there was like the least points of failure. You know what I mean? So it worked out well.
Was it the same sort of setup that you had when we did the NAMM joint in January?
Yep. So I used that same setup, and then I just added maybe 8 more joints to it. To that set that I had, and then I played out for about an hour.
You had 24 joints in there already, didn't you?
Yeah. So in total, I made 36 joints off of that one patch.
Wow, that's dope, though. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Tell us a bit about how you ended up using the voltage block like a preset manager.
Yeah. So I kind of had an idea all right, I need. Every time the beat switches, I want it to sound different. I don't want everything to be the same voice. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So with Voltage Block, you got 8 channels, and I used it unclocked, right? And I just used the save state. So if you hit save and then button 1, it saves to state 1, and you got 16 of those states.
Yep.
So on my set, I was literally just looking at my MPC when the beat, when I switched to the next sequence, and then I would just look on the MPC and be like, all right, and kind of time it, hit recall, and if I was going to sequence 5, I would hit recall 5, boom, and it would just change the voice over to where I needed it to be. And I just needed to do a couple little tweaks, you know what I mean, on the filters and stuff like that, and then yeah, it just had a whole different vibe. So that's kind of how I did it.
So, but I mean, some of the beats had to end up using some of the same presets at some point, right? Because you got do the math, 16 presets and 39 million beats.
Right. So I played a total of 15 joints.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it took an hour. So I had one more slot open.
That
one last slot, right? That one last slot was actually used for another beat. So I had 2. I was kind of using 2 for that one beat, switching between them. So I kind of filled them up. You know what I mean?
That's what's up.
That's really dope, man. How did it transport and everything over there? How did that go? Did you have any issue with that? Did you feel like anything was out of whack, or was it all pretty seamless?
No, it was all pretty seamless. Okay, so the only module that was my biggest issue was the STO, because that knob on there is really loose. It doesn't have no tension to it at all. So I put a little sticker on there, and I made a little line kind of in the general area of where it needed to be. And then really when I got to the spot, I was gonna use my phone as a tuner with the speaker, but Mike, the audio engineer, he was like, that's sharp. No, come back down some. Yep.
Oh, he told you to use your tuner.
He did it for me.
Yeah, he's probably one of those dudes that just has perfect pitch.
Either that, or he's got a tuner on the desk.
He was standing next to me. He was standing next to me. He was like,
nice.
No,
Yeah,
so. Yeah, that was dope.
That ear training is something that, man, I'm actually practicing that a lot now, being stuck at the house. I'm just playing stuff and learning how to I'm pretty okay at it now. I'm not amazing, but picking out sharpness and flatness, really
I do it when I'm driving. I have to send you guys a link, and I'll see if I can throw it in the description after the show. But I've got this. There's a few different things that I do. One, there's an app that's great for it, and you can actually tell when it's an ear training app. And then there's another thing that I do is there's a couple of YouTube videos that are for ear training, and a lot of the times when I'm just driving and brain is kind of off, that's what I'll do, because that's invaluable, man. And I find that a lot of people that that I don't like their music of, to be perfectly honest with you, like lack that simple ability, like to just like
simple though
to tell. Well, no, you don't have to be dead on with the notes necessarily with what I'm saying, but you should be able to tell when something is flat or sharp in relative to other sounds in your mix.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times I've noticed that the people that like turn me off pretty quickly are the people who can't tell that. Like, and you know, there's it's one thing to have dissonance that is intentional. It's another thing to have unintentional dissonance.
Yeah, that's called being out of tune.
Yeah. There's a difference between dissonance and out of tune, right?
Yo, let me tell you something.
Out of tune is messed up. Dissonance is pumped.
Let me tell you something. Me and Simp.
Me and it's going to be an attitude. Yes, you're right. I feel like
yo, check this out. Me and M Simp all week. All I do to get on his nerves is send him text messages of Instagram videos that I find of people that have out of tune 808s to their beat. Right? So it's like yo, the beat is dope, but the bass line is just off because they can't hear the frequency in the low end.
Mm-hmm.
And yo, that makes me laugh so hard. I don't know if something being sharp and flat is just comedy to me.
That's hilarious.
This is funny. Oh, man.
It's funny because like when I first started playing guitar, you know, and you know, I played by ear. I just picked it up. I was in a punk band kind of thing. So a lot of the times I was tuning my guitar, and what I didn't realize is like I would be like a whole octave out of key. Like I'd just be way off scale. And but as long as you're there. Like you can be, you know, in a whole other octave, but at least you're in tune. And a lot of people, man, they just you can tell the people who've never spent time just trying to tune something, period, you know.
Ken, 2 days ago I was watching Jacob Collier's live stream of him creating music live in his studio, and he has perfect pitch. He did this thing where he was singing harmonies, and then he pointed at one harmony. He's like, "Oh, that's 18 cents off."
Oh,
I was like, "What? Wait a minute."
Alien.
18 cents.
I was
alien.
I was like, how did you know that?
And then on top of that, with him recording at least 50 layers of everything.
Yeah, but he's an alien.
One out.
And let's be honest, like half the time he's doing things that are just like beyond the casual listener's conception of what they're even hearing. So it's like he can. I'll say this: I really like his music, but the times that I'll get irritated, and there's a few artists that will do this, not just in harmony wise, but in technical ability wise and other things where people can reach a certain level to where they're so good at something that they're just doing things to interest themselves at this point. And the casual listener falls away. Like there's certain modular artists that do this kind of stuff, and you're just like,
all kinds of musicians that do that.
Like, well, they hear all these intricacies because they built it up, and they've got all these like 50 billion layers of this modulating that, and I like how this sounds because this is doing this to this. And then, you know, some of those harmonies that I hear him do, I'm like, man, like you've got like 6 extra notes that if you took those away, I feel like it would just be a little more pleasant to the casual listener.
Yeah, but simplicity is key sometimes. Yo.
Yeah, I mean, having led a couple of bands,
I feel like simplicity is key in specific genres.
Right.
Yeah. And when you're getting into this crazy heady jazz space and that sort of thing, it's like
there's no
that's
rules.
what's interesting about it, you know. But
it's like it's almost like y'all know, and this stays internally with our group chat. But when I be saying there's certain dudes that their modulation be sounding like a forest of bugs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those guys are brilliant at what they're doing, but at a certain point, it's not music anymore.
Yeah, and you know, I had to learn to keep that stuff in check. I've led a couple of bands. When I first moved to LA and when I was living in Chicago, I had bands that I led. And like, that's a big thing. Like sometimes musicians get so into themselves that they could lose the sight of the bigger picture. Drummers especially.
We are the worst.
Not the time for all of that. I'm trying to get these folks these bars. You like the drum solo.
Yeah, we are the worst. No, so bass and drums, because what happens with bass is like the bass player ultimately has control of the harmonic structure of the song. If he flips the inversion of his chord that he's playing, it's a different joint.
Yeah,
you know. So it's like that's why I always say don't diss the bass player because he could change all the chords in the song.
You know another thing, the dynamics too.
Yeah.
When you got to realize that you're playing with other people, you got the dynamics to compete with, and you want to protect the vocal cords from having to yell or whatever it might be. It's people get off on those tangents and mess everything up, man. And then you'd be looking at it like, really, the listener don't even care at this point.
That brings up a topic, Corey, that I've been thinking a lot about, like just people online ragging about gear that other people use. And I'm just like, yo, if I was doing my stuff with no video and the result was still the same, would you care?
Nobody would care because listen, Madlib and Dilla made a lot of stuff with a lot of stuff that people don't talk about because it ain't the cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? They didn't make everything they made with MPC 60s and modes. There was a lot of like
iPads
machines and iPads and all kinds of stuff in there. You know what
To be
I
honest
mean?
with you, man, like when I'm creating and I'm hanging with a friend and they pull out like some like rinky-dink piece of gear and blow my mind with it, I'm like way more into it. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, oh, you did that with a pocket operator. Oh, you did that with like a SP808EX, like the pink.
Wait, that SP808. I like that joint though.
Well, yeah, I mean it can do crazy shit. Like I bring it up because I got a friend of mine, Joey Juggernauts, and he always makes crazy bangers on that thing. And it's just such an off kilter oddball kit. But he's been rocking that thing for like 20 years.
Yo,
and
I love that thing, man.
And yeah, I mean the pink joint with the little 4-track recorder built into it and all that. Yeah,
that thing. Yo.
Always said it's not about the gear, it's about you.
When somebody,
Yep.
I got friends of mine that rock like just like an old MPC and or even the SP606. That was a slept on one too. But
I mean, look, bro.
with a VCR is their crate.
You got people making dope dub tracks off like $22 pawn shop keyboards, like you know what I mean, like running it through some effects.
It's true. Back in the day, I had a homeboy. He kept a little raggedy Casio keyboard. I don't even. It was kind of like what you go by literally at Toys R Us, and he had a MPC 2000, and he would make stuff on there. He would just sample the crap out of all kinds of stuff on there, and that was a point. He didn't even have drum. Or he didn't even have pedals or anything like that. It was just he would run it through a board, or he would, whatever little stuff he had, and put it in that MPC filter and make programs that people would never know.
That's what I was going to say, Corey. The fact that the fact that anything can be sampled and filtered, once it can be sampled and filtered, it doesn't matter what you made it on. Now it comes to the point of manipulation. Like now, how can you manipulate it in the sampler? And that's where the character comes out, because the filter on this one is different than the filter on this joint. So that's where things start to the line blur a little bit, but it still doesn't matter.
I'd argue that I get more bored with the people that are using the same shit that everybody else is using.
Yeah, I'm on that too.
I'm more excited when I find out like, oh, Joe Schmo's rocking a beat thing, or Joe Schmo's rocking, whatever else it is. Like
I feel like you're talking about St. Joe, and now I don't.
Yeah, he's talking about St. Joe.
You keep saying Joe Schmo.
I did see Joe in here, so I had to throw it.
Hey, Joe,
beat thing is dope though.
Hey, Joe,
beat thing is dope, and so is Joe.
Hey, Joe, your new last name is Schmo.
St. Joe Schmo.
Joe Schmo.
But yo, for real, like it's one thing when like everybody's using the same piece of gear in the spot, and you're just like, oh, okay, another person on this. But I'm way more interested. Like I used to go to this spot, and this this kid was rocking the MC909, and he
Mhm.
was the only dude I knew that had a 909. And in hip hop circles, that wasn't that common. In techno circles, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, tell me everything.
Yo, Ken, check this out. My first experience with the MC909 was the same way. I was studying at IAR, Institute of Audio Research in New York, right? And I walked in with my MV8000, and this other dude walks in with his MC909. I'm like, yo, what's that? And he's like, oh, you don't know about this? And we realized that they had the same brain in them. Like a lot of it was like the same component, just different form factor.
Yeah. Dude, like the vinyl emulation on that, man, there's so many like crazy weird things about that. But it also had limitations that made you want to like punch yourself in the head.
Yeah,
but you learn to work around them if that's your joint.
That's what I'm saying is like it would create this different palette to paint on, and then so the people would go to that and do their thing, and you would end up sounding different from everybody else, and I love that.
Yo, Ken, I got a homie that has a dedicated Windows XP computer just to use with his V-Synth.
I'm gonna judge him.
I'm not judging.
Oh, but because of his
Windows,
I'm judging Roland. I'm judging Roland
things.
Right now. Like, yo, that V-Synth is dope. How come you drop support? Yeah, man, that's real.
Ken, I have a question. Has Roland ever rolled out that technology in something else?
I don't know if they put it in the cloud. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of that stuff is in other things, but it's not. I think the thing about the V-Synth is like the whole kit and caboodle together of what it was and the way that you controlled it and all of that. Because I know like the D50 card from it is in other things, and I know like the vocalizer card is, and I know that the sampling technology is in other products from Roland, but it's the way that it was all put together in that thing. It still makes many of us lust, and many of us still look at the V-Synth as like Roland's last great, like really interesting digital synth.
I loved it.
Like and I'm not knocking the System 1 and System 8 or nothing, but like they're not, and the what is it, the new Jupiters and all that stuff. They're all cool, but they're all doing VA. Whereas that thing was like, it did VA, but it was doing its own sample manipulation craziness that thing's dope. Like,
yo, Inky just brought up something interesting. She's like, see, the UK techno girl, we like that with the MPC. So when I was watching the rollout of the MPC X, I was wondering why, like, there was a lot of EDM and like techno dudes doing like a lot of the promotion of the MPC X when it was first being rolled out, and it makes a lot of sense that in the UK they're doing a lot of that music on the MPC. Like in America, there was a lot of hip hop on the MPC.
Yeah, well, and another product that I find is really crazy like that is when you look at DJing and Traktor versus Serato.
Yeah,
man, it's like two totally different worlds.
Yeah,
and it's like you get outside of the U.S. and Traktor is huge.
Yeah,
and you come into the U.S. and it's all like the U.S. is driven by hip hop and pop.
And Serato.
Whereas you get outside of the U.S. and you've got all these other genres of electro and techno and EDM, and the two cultures like are deeply divided over Serato versus Traktor. Like that's crazy to me.
For me, is whatever sounds good. That's
Traktor.
There it is.
I get upset because like I personally really like Traktor. I'm talking DVS. I'm talking DVS.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm talking about vinyl. Like vinyl versus.
Oh, you lost me. You lost
vinyl.
me there. You lost me.
Well, no, I actually like to scratch.
No, I know. I'm just saying, my back. I ain't trying to carry no more vinyl or even look.
Well, yeah. I mean, just carrying the 1200s alone is heavy compared to a controller. But I've still yet to find a controller that really made me as happy as a 1200 with a digital vinyl solution.
You got to try those new what's it called?
The phase
joints, yeah.
But yeah, you still got to carry your 1200.
I know, but still, you know.
Although I would say that combined with like that Technics CD player or even the Newmark, but the Newmark one was heavy as hell if you remember that. The CDX.
All them shits is heavy though.
That's what I was just gonna say. All DJ stuff is heavy as hell.
I like the Denon joints, the Denon like S3500 and up, like those ones. The Denon series joints with the spinning platter on them. They're pretty nice to cut on, but and honestly, the Pioneer CDJs, I love scratching on those things, but it's totally different from vinyl. Like the type of scratches you get on those are different. Like your hand movement, everything about it, your scratches end up sounding different from vinyl, but it's still dope. Like it's dope in a different way.
What are we all doing to stay creative? Tips for beat makers.
So
hardcore LSD? No, nobody.
Well, but the reason I bring this up is because obviously everywhere you look, there's coronavirus talk, and everybody's on lockdown, and we all in our cribs, and it seems like every DJ on earth is on live streaming, which is unusual. Like I look at the top of my Instagram, and it's all live, right? But it doesn't matter where you go. Like even if you go to your social media feed, everybody's talking about, you know, either some sort of conspiracy theory, some sort of fear mongering, or some sort of political jargon, and a bunch of stuff going on. But you know what I find?
432 hertz does not cure coronavirus. I'm just going to tell you now.
You know, you have to test that first. But I'm just curious to see what people are doing to stay creative and what kind of tips we could give folks, maybe just to kind of inspire them to stay creative during this period, since you're at home anyway.
Starting point. Yeah. One tip that I would say is like change your starting point when it comes to creating. If you always start on drums, don't start on drums. Start with the keys. And when you start on keys, you'll realize either I'm trash at keys or I'm good at keys. And then that'll motivate you to learn more keys while you're starting out. You know? It's just like, well, I got all this time.
I love it. That's practical and it makes sense. It makes all sense.
Man, my keys are trash.
You know what's interesting though is I find that if I create, for something on Eurorack, if I create melodies, I can typically create melodies on Eurorack that I wouldn't be able to play. But then I can create, you know, I can start playing around those melodies to create certain nuances, and it'll force me to play stuff on the keys that I wouldn't typically even approach. You know what I mean? And it'll have me trying to figure out the progression or the notes and all that kind of stuff. So that's a good tip.
That's why I'm obsessed with granular synthesis right now.
Yeah.
Because that gives me results that I just can't come up with on any instrument.
I've been watching you do your granular stuff because granular synthesis to me is one of those things where I want to love it and I don't nearly as much as what I want to. Because like I love the idea of it and I love the intricacy and like all the little weird crap you can do with it. But I tend to not love it, like how it actually ends up, the results.
Well, is it because it sounds smeary to you?
So you need a filter or something?
So it depends on the use case. Because so when you use granular in a delay type world, that can be kind of cool. But
that just ends up sounding like reverb to me.
When you start doing polyphonic things with it, it sounds like a mess to me. To be honest.
So Ken, this is one thing that I've been doing a lot with granular stuff. I haven't been using it in a traditional way with reverb or delay. What I've been doing is I've been using it with distortion.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing is, because to me, this is how I think about granular. It's like alien sampling. That's all it is. It's like
I look at it as like just super small snippets of sound, and then because a lot of us used to do the tricks of like turning snares into synthesizer sounds and that sort of thing. That's how I tend to approach it.
Exactly. Same
mentally.
Here. Same here. But instead of me running it through reverb or delay, I run that shit through fuzz and like and
I never use fuzz.
So because what I'm doing is I like to add harmonics to the sound.
Yeah.
That's because granular sometimes ends up sounding thin and wimpy, and I'm like, nah, this joint need a booty. Let me run this joint through fuzz. Let me run this joint through fuzz and through overdrive and through an octaver and crazy stuff. And then I start getting a sound that I'm like, oh, I can chop this up in another sampler after I run it through Granular. So that's why Nebula is always in my rack, and I'm running that through like a bunch of distortion, and that's just great.
See, like, that's one of the things that I kind of tend to see people using Granular for a lot is like pad sounds, and they want to like make these wishy-washy sounds with them, and I'm like, but yeah, I haven't really, I don't tend to use too much distortion with Granular like that, so that maybe that'll be something that I'll try, but I have a feeling that when I do that, it's going to be more about like less about the specific sound and the idea of the sound. You know what I mean?
So Ken, check this out. Experiment I did the other night, double helix into Nebula, right?
Okay.
So create like a dirty ass sound in like double helix, and then sample that into Nebula, and it sounds identical, right? Once you sample it. But then you start to do the pitch shifting and the time shifting, which is.
Now, are you doing a longer drone sound, or are you doing a plucked double helix sound?
No, I'm doing like a bass line, like boom, 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 boom. So when you start down sampling it and slowing it down and changing the pitch of it, it starts getting that warbly, that warbly aliased kind of like shitty sampler sound. And I love that. And then running that through like distortion, and after that running it through reverb. Now we're getting into like, oh, this feels like it has feelings.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, because Granular in general is like, it's just one of those things where I feel like, so beyond iPad, right, and a few very specific plugins, I don't feel like anybody's really done Granular and hardware the way that I would like to see it. Now, the Tasty Chips one, I haven't messed with, so I can't really comment on that.
It's nice, Ken. I play with it for a little bit, and it was the first time that I was like, oh man, they actually made it tactile, like Granular.
Yeah, because that's the thing about it is like, I love on iPad where you can pinch it in and get your section and all that thing. Because for me, like Granular, if I'm doing that, I do love the scrubbing sound of Granular, where you're getting, like, I use Reactor a lot for my Granular stuff. And what I like to do is I like to scrub through a waveform and have it picking and choosing like all these kind of random little bits that are just kind of sparsely hitting, and then scrub through the track like that, and that's when I get some really fun stuff. I tend to sample things that are more atmospheric, and like if I'm like I've got samples of where I was like blowing on these metal pipes in a factory, and they're like really, really long, so it's just like this deep bellowy sound.
Oh, you ain't right.
Hey, listen.
Yo,
I knew the risk.
Yo, I was thinking the same thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna stay shut.
I knew the risk, and I said it anyway. But damn it. But the point is, like these sounds are like really, really like interesting atmospheric sounds on their own. But then when you start scrubbing through them Granular, stop it.
I'm sorry. I just
I'm like 12 years old right now.
Damn it. Yeah, I just want to tell you another thing about staying creative, just real quickly, is my son is 5 years old, and he has discovered the joy that is saying "but" before and after every word. And if that doesn't keep you creative, I don't know what will.
Oh, that's great.
What is this? Oh, is that the beat cam? You gotta make it. You gotta bring it up, man. There it
is. Yo, what I was gonna say is before we do this, I wanted to actually bring us up to show this.
God, that looks like candy.
Yeah.
Candy.
The midi-sided twister.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, what's so dope is that if you get the like Forms, the Granular app, that you can use this with MIDI to make it more tactile. That's probably would work out for most people. So
yeah,
that's dope. That's dope.
Corry, have you tried to MIDI CC that to your Force?
Not yet, actually. I've been playing a lot with different MIDI things lately.
So hold on, is that one Bluetooth?
No.
What's going on with that?
What do you mean?
I didn't see any wires.
Oh no, I'm not using it right now. I'm just showing
I thought you were using that now. I was like, oh, like what's going on there?
No.
Oh, that's live. Hey, you got the new setup.
Oh, we're fancy.
Oh, that's live right now.
Beat cam.
Okay.
Beat cam. The beat cam, man. So the thing is, because since we're all kind of locked down, I was trying to figure out a way to do live podcast, which is either doing a piece of gear or doing a beat set.
You better turn that down. I can't hear you.
So I wanted to experiment with ways to do a live maybe gear review or beat set, and so I basically just kind of did this where I can kind of pull this up and see that stuff.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. On the subject of staying creative, I'd second D Steele on saying start at a different point, and also just try something new. Like if you're always trying to make the same thing, like it gets boring and like repetitive. So, try a new genre that you haven't tried before. Try
new tempo.
New tempo. Just a whole new vibe.
Yeah.
Time divisions and.
That's where I have most fun, like just not trying to like replicate something or something like that. Just trying to come up with that kind of vibe that you get from like different music. That's kind of what I did with that last beat on my set, that dub joint. I was like, man, I want to do something different. You know what I mean? So I just started like with some different kind of sounds. I didn't start with the normal hip hop drum kit. I started with some percussion sounds, and I found some like bongos and stuff like that, and I played it and I was like, oh, that sounds dope, let me see what goes on top of that. And that turned into a damn dub track.
I'm watching Ken right now, and he's like, he's about to show something. He's probably gonna have to travel 50 feet to go show me.
All the way to the back of his room.
Yeah, he's like, let me show you something. He has to take a Segway all the way to the back of the room.
Like, hey guys! Hey you guys! Check out my roads!
Yo, you need like 7 camera setup in there.
Yeah, man. You just need to mount GoPros all over your room and put them into a video mixer and send that.
That's actually what I'm working on right now. And that's literally what I was getting ready to do just now is I'm unscrewing. I mounted these pipes to my ceiling.
Oh, the same pipes from before?
The same metal pipe?
God damn it!
So obsessed with metal pipes. I don't understand.
Listen, it's hard black pipe. Leave it alone.
So I got another thing too. Something that kind of keeps me inspired is, you said changing the sounds, but even if you're doing the same genre, change your drum kits. Go and do something else. Like it always happens. Or change the way you program things. If you use an electron gear, you could use things like trig locks and probability and stuff. Like you'd be amazed just what small things make a difference. You know what I mean?
I've been making drum beats with probability lately, man. Oh my goodness. It's a
whole different vibe.
Yeah, it's like it's where you want it to be every once in a while. And after that, it's just like evolving. Randomly like dropping and giving a drop step or hitting where you didn't think it was gonna hit, and like it's
and
really
they give you
dope.
that ooh every now and then, what I mean?
It's like, like even you who made it don't even know what's about to happen.
So that's something that for me is really special because I've been doing that with the Octatrack where I'm creating a loop. And then that probability, man, it's just like
that was one of the reasons why I went modular to begin with. Was because I wanted happy accidents, and I had been working in software and whatnot, and I found that like I was missing some of the happy accident stuff that I love so much. So I was like, I really want to start programming some rhythms with happy accidents again. And that's where like things like I've got certain Eurorack modules that are specifically geared towards giving me happy accidents. What is it called? The Trigger Riot. That's my number one. Man, I won't use it as like my primary sequencer, but what I'll do is I'll send it a clock, or I'll send it some triggers from my main sequencers and my main rhythm sequencers, so that it's getting the information and it can just spit out probability stuff, you know?
Right.
And you have so many outputs on it that can give you different probabilities and, you know, different rhythms and different gate lengths and all that kind of stuff that it allows you to get some really cool things, and it's just never repeating, you know, like and if you want it to be more like constrained, you can make it constrained too, you know? So
I've been kind of using the Mystic Circuits Anna and Tree to kind of achieve the same type of stuff that you're talking about. Just you know, the changing, and it can be, you can have it repetitive to a point, but also every so often it'll introduce a new element in. You know what I mean?
I've been doing that with Voltage Block, where instead of clocking it by a regular gate, I've been clocking it with a sample and hold.
That's dope.
So whatever I modulate on the, you know, on everything, on every fader on there, is being clocked differently every time the sample and hold.
Yeah.
Different rate. So now it's literally giving me like different modulation every time it cycles.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send a sloppy ass clock from Pam to it to Voltage Block also.
Yeah,
and it'll give some real dope stuff.
So man, yeah, that's the thing, man.
So think about this, right? If you send an on-time gate, right, and then all right, so you know if you have your Voltage Block clocked with a sloppy clock, right, and then you also have a gate with a sloppy clock, and then you have your gate being sent out, like triggering your envelope, but the envelope is on time. You'll get these little like microseconds of it changing inside of that same gate. You know what I mean? Like the notes changing in that gate, and it sounds really dope sometimes.
No, definitely, and that's the kind of stuff that gives that human kind of vibe to like, it gives like a drunk drummer kind of vibe, or like, that stuff is really, really, really cool.
That's the stuff that actually really intrigues me when it comes to a couple things. When it comes to modular Eurorack stuff, approaching it from a musical perspective, and approaching it from a human perspective, the human controlling the machine, rather than the machine dictating. You know what I mean? Everything. You know what I mean? And once you start getting into that stuff, I think that's where like you could really have some fun in your studio, and stuff gets magical easily, real quick.
I think for me that's kind of a struggle though, Corey, because it's part of what frustrates me with modular, where as a musician I can play stuff the way that I hear it.
Yeah.
When it gets to modular, I'm like, now I got to do a whole math equation in order to get to
and a bunch of tricks.
Right, but D, this is how I look at it.
Plus
right?
Negative.
This is how I look at it. When I'm touching the modular, I'm trying to come up with stuff that I wouldn't play.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah, I feel you. I definitely agree with you. But what's tough for me is in the midst of orchestrating something, and I'll say, well, at bar 9, I want to do this.
Right.
Like,
modular. Then you have to come up with a whole mess of wires to make that happen.
Exactly. It's just like, I'm like, it just took me 45 minutes to program a hi-hat on bar 9.
That's 100% one of my gripes with a lot of the modular stuff is even the really good modular sequencers, it feels like a real chore to do a proper song mode in them, right? Like it feels like a chore to really properly set up a nice progression all the way through a song and have it all kind of resolve and everything, right?
Yeah.
That's why I use my MPC most of the time.
That's what I was going to say. Is like,
I was just barking up that tree.
I like using the sequencers of the modular for, you know, the shorter clips, but I prefer to then sample that into the MPC and then arrange in the MPC or arrange in whatever else you're using. It doesn't have to be an MPC, just a proper arranger, you know? Because the truth is like the vast majority of these things just don't do arrangement that well. you know.
And most of them are locked in the grid all the time. And
locked in the grid, and on top of that, even the ones that give you a lot of flexibility there, it's like it's not an intuitive, inspiring method of programming. You know,
Right.
it's like
that's
it's
why
like NerdSeek or something like that, where it's like a tracker, or like you have to like dive into these little tiny menus because you're in a Eurorack also. So there is that limitation as far as form factor. But it's like, honestly, even the external units, BeatStep Pro, what's the other one? Is it Pioneer that makes the Squid? You know, like these external ones that are geared towards modular. The vast majority of those don't have that many outputs. I mean, some of them have a lot of outputs, but even still, it's like you might have a lot of drum outputs, so you get like 8 drum outputs,
you don't have
and
CV,
then you might have like 4
CV.
melodic tracks.
Yeah.
But man, as far as sequencing is concerned, there's still huge room in the market, in my opinion, to do a proper, like, collect it all together, proper sequencer. And you can
Electron,
talk about things like
are you listening? Electron.
Yeah, that's true. They do need to do that.
listening?
But I just want to say, just like Ali just said, that's why, for me, using my Force or him with his Live and with Eurorack, it gives me the best of both worlds. That's why I've always done it that way, because there's some things I'm just not even going to tackle. There's some things that I've done on this guy that, like, I could patch up a bunch of stuff just to get gate delays and proper swing and proper groove. But the fact of the matter is, do you want to go through that? That may be some stuff.
Right. I want to make music, bro.
Music. So the balance is to have this paired up with something like that.
Exactly.
Like that.
And that's what I do. That's what I do with my Live also. But even then, I still find like there's this thing where I feel like processors and all that kind of stuff, and Steele's gonna hate me for saying this stuff.
No, I will never hate you.
This is the stuff that gets to me as like somebody who's been making music for a long time with music tech, and with the thought of like, oh, you could do this in the future. Well, we're in the future now, in my opinion, right? Like, we have the processing power to do this. We've got the cheap enough parts to do this. I look at things like MPCs, rhythms, you know, like when I see like a new drum machine that comes out that's supposed to be a flagship drum machine, my first thought, though it may be wrong, my first thought is, oh, that could be a centerpiece sequencer also for the rest of my rig. And oftentimes it's not. Like, they don't go there with
that's not how they build stuff, Ken.
I know, but what I'm saying is that they can now. Like, for the longest time, people have been asking for this like centerpiece solution.
Yeah.
And then the computer came along to where like Machine and the DAW and everything kind of took hold. And that makes sense for a lot of reasons. However, the standalone field still has a very valid situation.
Yes.
And it just... no one has really fully utilized it. The closest thing is probably the MPCs, at the standalone MPCs at this point. Mm-hmm. And even them, like, there's a lot of improvements that could be made there. I think they're doing great work. Don't get it twisted. I think they're doing fantastic work. But I don't think that any of these companies are going into it with the thought of centerpiece sequencer for everything first. And the newer MPCs are like 100% telling you that they're not that because of how they rearrange their MIDI.
Like, there's so much that I could use on my MPC Live to help me do stuff. There's so many little things that should be there that aren't there, right?
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
a shift in focus.
At the end of the day, it's like, all right, they're not there, but this is what gets me the closest to what I need to be doing, and makes it the easiest for me to, within an hour or two, have a complete composition done. You know what I mean? And just like D Steele said, if I want a hi-hat on bar 9, I can do that right in my MPC. Just using my MPC and the mutant brain, and I can say, okay, I want to trigger the Black Noir on bar 9. It makes it easy for me to do that.
And Ali, what's really interesting, you're bringing that up because samplers have really helped us. Like, they really helped. And it's interesting that coming from the culture that we come from, like a lot of hip hop culture, we basically can do anything we want because of samplers. Like we can make any style of music we want.
Yeah, I 100%
agree. There's actually no limit to what we can do.
Yep.
Samplers. I'm like,
unless you can't tune.
Oh yeah, unless you can't.
Because it's like, look, check this out. You record something that you like that you you built a patch on the Eurorack, you recorded into your Nebulae or your Morphogene or whatever it may be, right? And then you slow that down, it sounds totally different from what it's just crazy. All day. It'll take you in a whole different direction if you just sample that in and just adjust it a bit, and then it's a whole different thing.
That's also a big part of like what I know I do. I know all of us do that. Like, and it's a big part of it. One, because we come from the sampling kind of arena. And then, so when I approached Modular, that's a big thing when I started getting into whether I had a sampler in a rack or not, because I've always had like the MPC or something with the Modular. To be able to sample that stuff, slow it down and flip it and chop it the same way we would with a record. I mean, it becomes, you lean in on those same basic skill sets that you learn when you first start making beats. You know what I mean? So Corry, you can transform anything.
Corry, here's what I'll tell you right now, and y'all can kill me, but for my mod bat music, I am not sequencing it on no modular, right? I'm creating all the sounds. On the spot. Look, I'm creating all the sounds on modular, but you better believe I'm gonna sample every kick, every snare, every bass sound, and then I'm gonna play it out on a sequencer or on a sampler because
I do that a lot. That's a large piece of what I do. I just happen to blend the two when I play live.
Oh no, of course.
But you know what I mean?
I haven't actually been doing that lately, but I think my setup allows for that because I got the MPC, the Mutant Brain, and then Pam's new workout, and everything's running the same clock. So I could be running the ER 101. I could be running a channel out of Voltage Block. I can be using all of it and like 2 more channels out of the MPC. So I might be using like 1 channel of the Voltage Block, 1 channel of ER 101, and then like 2 channels on the MPC Live. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be my beat. And then what I'll do is I'll just bring up the MPC on my computer and just hit record. And then I record like a 32 bar, 64 bar, whatever I want of everything. And like say bar, I let bar, 1 to 16 play out just normally. And then after 16, I'll start making some changes with the filters and all of that stuff. I'll kind of have it planned out before, right? And then, after the next 16, I'll do some other stuff. And then I'll take it into the DAW and arrange it.
Yeah.
Corry, you know what I was what was troubling me last night? Why the MPCs don't have unified lanes of sequencing when it comes to CV and gate. So like, for instance, you know how on MPC you have to assign a CV out and then you have to go and then assign a gate out, and they're 2 different things. Why wouldn't they just make it like one an actual channel that sends CV and gate out of different? It's coming out of different sockets, but you can sequence it on the same channel. Because, for instance, I still like to have 808s. Let's just say we make an 808 on our modular, right? We don't have to send 2 separate. We don't have to sequence 2 separate things on the MPC.
Wait. So you have to use 2 separate channels?
No, I want to be able to see both on the MPC, like at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Because right now it's that track view where you have to kind of assign the separate. I want to be able to see it on the piano roll together, like
right.
And stuff like that. It's like for people that aren't really into modular sequencing, the MPC could help for people to visualize how this stuff is actually working.
Especially being the bridge between a large part of the hip hop community and the modular community. Like, the MPC could be that bridge.
MPC ain't got no tuner.
No, shame.
Like, bro, when I'm bringing, when I'm bringing in modular, like that should be one of the effects that you put in.
Yeah, you could throw on a channel and now be able to see it.
Oscillator.
Yeah.
Bro, imagine if you could tune your oscillators right from the MPC.
Brilliant.
Like,
yeah, that'll be
I
dope.
totally agree.
I could
I've
go
been
a
saying
step
for a
further
while,
with that
too.
because you're thinking small right there. All right, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you're
take it
thinking
a whole
here
nother
we
Let's
go.
step.
focus.
All right, so
Ken's
here's
like,
here's
Ken's
the
like,
easier,
I want my-
and this is
to
the
make me
forward
wince.
thinking way for the modern studio. Okay, let's face it, CV is back, MIDI is still here also. If we're gonna have it, why not integrate it properly? So if I'm using a digital device to send CV, right? All you have to do is send the audio back to the device, right? Hit tune, and it should be able to scale your CV directly to that oscillator
Yeah.
so that you don't even have to touch the oscillator to tune it. It will scale your CV properly,
Yeah.
right? This is technology that already exists, but they're not implementing any of this kind of stuff. And it's not even stuff that takes a lot of processing power to do that.
Oh no, I agree with you, and that's why I always end up in Ableton using CV tools in order to get my stuff.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, you know what? Hayes Green said everyone needs a tuner next to Modular anyway. I think at this point, most people have something like data.
Well, our phones,
And our phones have
our,
stuff.
our phones have tuners, so we're good.
More
I
Text
just
data
use
and
my
iPhone.
phone
That's what I use.
or my ear. I mean, look, a lot of the times I don't even tune my oscillator, bro. Like I'll just, all right, say I'm using voltage block, right? And I'm making a sequence out of voltage block. I'll just hook something up. I'll like shake the slider like a DJ or something and make something crazy and it sounds cool. And I'm like, all right, turn the tune of the oscillator down. Oh, I like it right there. And then I'll add something else and then just tune it right to that. You know, just it's that ear.
But
All I
Ali,
leave-
that's exactly what I was
All I
saying
leave music
earlier.
is tuned to 430. It doesn't heal
Ali,
you.
that's exactly what I was saying earlier though. Is there see, you're able to do that, right? And you're not tuning to a direct pitch, you're not tuning to anything specific, but your ear is there to
tell
be
you
able
that
to
these
find
two
what's
things are-
pleasant, right?
yeah.
Right.
And that's what I was talking about earlier, is that there's a lot of people who, even if you're not necessarily tuning to a specific pitch, you're still kind of keeping everything in tune because you're thinking in a cohesive manner about your song and your structure, right? And a lot of people don't have that ability. Like there are people out there, I'm not going to name names, but I got people on Instagram that I follow and follow me, and every single time they post a beat, I'm like, how do they not hear that this is so far out that it's like it's not like, oh, it's sloppy and cool and funky. It's like,
Nah, it's
ow.
it's what you calling a pitch?
Who you calling a pitch? Oh, that is ridiculous.
Oh man.
Yo, honestly, man, it gets
That
tough though.
really
Like,
got me.
but here's where
Oh.
it's tough. It's like if your stuff is not in tune, then like when you want to play guitar to it, now you got to figure out how to drop tune your guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and now you got to figure out how to tune your bass. And you know, when traditional instruments mix with modular, that's what you got to be in tune, because you got to kind of like be able to play
Yo.
along with that joint.
Funny story. We got this little ukulele, right?
Mhm.
And I tuned it the other day, and I just, I didn't tune it to. I was just messing around. You know what I mean? I didn't tune it to anything specific, but how I tuned it, it sounded like a really cool, dope ass Hawaiian melody, right? Like I could just strum in it and it sounded really good, right? Man, I was playing with this thing. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take this down and sample it. So I left it. I went out to the store, something came back. Man, my son had retuned that joint. I was so mad.
Yo,
So mad. I was like, I'm gonna put this in the morphogene and this is gonna be so dope. And I came back
son
and
was like, "Hey, Daddy, I changed the preset."
yo, that's hilarious. He was like,
I'm like, what? I was like, yo, there's no getting that back because I don't even know what I did.
that's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious.
Man,
That's
kids,
wild.
kids be tough.
Yo,
But
I got one for you. So I know that I myself have been extra busy during this whole time. So, but I know that most people have been kind of
Yeah, me too.
confined to their homes and that sort of thing. We are like kind of the exception to the rule because we're all like, we got home studios and we're like, oh, what? I have to stay inside? Oh, so bad.
What shall I do?
Oh dear, where?
Right,
you mean I don't have to go to the mall?
Look, we're like, I've been training for this for years.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Let's see.
How have you been handling?
Bring it on,
How have you been
Rhoda.
handling the rest of your family in your house during this time? Because me personally, like my wife and my kids are going nuts. Oh my! See, there's my kid right now. They're going nuts, and I'm like, literally. You see this?
Yo, Ollie came in busting with the dog. Blah, blah, blah.
Here with a pop gun, like, or get out of here. Skedaddle even.
Ken over there raising a militia.
Yeah, that sounds like a show on Showtime. Raising the militia. That's wild.
Man, my wife is working right now. She on the other side of this wall in her kitchen office.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't been able to play drums during the week because she's always on like Zoom calls and Google.
Yeah, that sounds like my life right now, man. I've been extra busy. That's why I've been posting on IG or doing nothing. I've just been like super busy, and then when I'm done, it's like spend some time with the family, kids, because they bored. They're like, oh, what are we gonna do, Daddy? I'm bored. I'm like, I don't know. We can't go nowhere. You want to get COVID? Nah. So we can go fly a kite or something, and then they looking at me like, fly a kite.
I'll be on IG live at 5 a.m.
Yo, my man said Ken's a doomsday synth prepper.
Honestly, I was watching some YouTube video on some dude who had built like a bunker in his backyard, and I was thinking like that would be such a dope second level to my studio.
Yeah,
you gotta keep working on that first level though, Ken.
I do want to synth shit.
Oh, I do, man. Matter of fact, I was just talking to a buddy today about the acoustic treatment. So
that's awesome.
It's on the way, man. It's on the way.
That's great.
But yo, I wanted to show you this, Corey.
What?
Because you got your beat cam set up, and I hate being outdone.
Yo, Ken, you a jealous mofo, yo.
I am. I'm trying to keep. I'm trying to keep up, but yeah, I got this thing right here.
There it is.
Hold on, let me use.
You gotta walk 10 feet away though.
You gotta walk all the way in the
Hold
back.
on, I gotta walk a couple of 100 yards.
Somebody get this man some lights. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, see, I got that on the app because I'm fancy. But yeah, check this out, right? So
the 301.
Here, I got this thing, right?
Yep.
And we were talking about happy accidents. So check this out, right? This thing. So this is doing all the drum sequencing for this, right?
This dude need a wireless lav.
Right? So I can change it up like this.
He said I could change it up like this. I see what you did there, but I don't know what you did there.
Wait, so you got pattern switching on that joint. So how many lanes of that can you send out?
All right, hold on. Let me switch my crap back over so I can have
Now
my
he
face.
gotta go another 10 feet back to the other side of the room. Yo, Ken gonna lose 40 pounds just trying to
Turn my lights back down.
just trying to tune oscillators. He's gonna lose 40 pounds just trying to tune oscillators.
But no, like point being, like so I'm sequencing my ER301 as a drum machine from the KeyStep Pro, but then I can on the fly switch between the direction of the sequencer on the KeyStep Pro, going
dope.
from like random to forward to reverse to pendulum, and using that to sequence the drums, so it gives you all these happy accidents and you do it on the fly, and then of course sample that joint in.
Ken, how many gates were you sending to the ER301 right now?
Actually, well, that's the funny thing is I'm not sending gates to it. I'm sending one, but
okay.
I'm sending CV because I'm chopping.
So you're chopping a sample. You're not; those are not individual.
Yeah. So
okay.
if I do this, right, I'm all the way back here now. So this is the individual chops, right?
Ali over there chopping.
Yeah, he chopping literally. They looking ominous too.
You see?
That's
So I'm
dope.
playing that by hand right now.
Ken, why don't you set it up? And this is just a suggestion. Set it up in a way where you're kicking your snare on one gate, and your hi-hat would be maybe on another gate, so that way you can get polyphony.
So the reason why I have it this way is because what I'm doing is I'm allowing it to cut itself off and glitch. So
Okay.
like if you go random and then you turn it up and ratchet, then you'll get that kind of stutter effect.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was doing with this particular set, because I actually have I have two different sets of drums going. So like right there, it was just, let me show you.
Slides 1 million feet out the frame.
Yo, you're too
I
funny.
got analog drums and I got the sample going at the same time, and I'm gonna mute the two.
All from 50 feet away.
That's dope, Ken. That's really dope.
Analog. Hold on. So that's analog drums, but I'm putting them through a wave folder that's in ER301, and then I'm rectifying it as well.
Somebody needs to rectify your seat.
You rectifying it with the black pipe? Okay.
And see, that's the sample chop.
That's dope.
And that's the Delta Sep A because it's sexy as hell.
Ken, we got to get you one of those 360 wheelchairs. Some joints you know what I'm talking about? Them joints, you just be like, just roll around.
I think I have a stuck gate. Hold on.
Oh man, that's so
Or you are one of them automatic joints, you know how you install it in your home for your grandpa or something that goes up the stairs.
Yo, if you could put like Eurorack all the way across the stairway wall so that I could just be patching as I'm going up the stairs.
like, hold on.
Yo.
He's like, let me change that
It gives me meaning to studio automation.
My point being, that's how I get a lot of happy accidents, and that's I like happy accidents for creativity. Like,
I feel that
Ken is gonna automate his granny lift
while getting work done, you know, because I'm testing that stuff, so I'm like looking for flaws and that kind of thing.
Yo, I just want to mention this right quick. Yo, I'm doing this new artist interview series, and I interviewed Steele, and I interviewed the 80s Babies, and
I didn't see the 80s Babies one yet.
Yeah, then I that's up already. And then I got DJ Bless and a couple other folks coming up next week.
Word.
Oh, that's exciting. What's up? What's up? We gonna do that Ali the Architect?
Yeah, let's get that Ali the Architect joint.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
You already know I'm down.
I'm trying.
I gotta watch the 80s Babies. I seen the Steele joint.
I'm trying.
Yo, I gotta say, that 80s Babies new album Unlearn, it's pretty dope, yo. I'm so impressed with like it's you know, you listen to some projects and everything is on point, and the fact that I know them and I've remembered since back to their first album. I mean, the mixes are on point, the mastering is on point, the creativity is on another level. The lyricism, all that stuff is like just really, really on point.
Yeah,
so I'm just advising everybody that don't know the 80s Babies, go check this out and then go listen to this album, Unlearn. You'll thank me later, trust me.
Hey, Corry,
so I'm just trying to do a little extra.
One of those beach towels then. Oh, my bad.
Hey, Corry, I'm gonna have to jump off soon, man. I gotta take care of something.
Cool, it's all good, man. Hey, I think we've run about an hour.
Dog.
Yeah.
We've gone for about an hour. I think it's been a good show, man. Anybody got anything they want to say in closing before we get out of here?
Rest in peace, Gary Gnu.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gary Gnu. Also, if y'all need some drums, if you go to my IG page, in the bio of my IG page, you could purchase this cool drum kit that I just put out to share with people. That's it. And msxaudio.com.
Is
You
that
know,
the my Instagram
yeah,
BeatPPL drums?
yeah. My IG
Yo,
BeatPPL drums.
can I just do a quick little? I'm just gonna do this just because
Let's see it.
these are the drums that I'm using here.
Is this on the beat cam?
Yep.
I should have my force soon.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's dope as hell.
Yeah, these drums are just crazy, man. These are the Steele's my Instagram BeatPPL drums. I need to go to his IG and get those.
Hey Ken, before I forget, whenever you get a chance, go check out that Waldorf Quantum upgrade that just came out.
You know what? I kind of want to hit you in the face right now because I'm the one who broke the news and posted that on fluxwithit.com, but nobody wants to go to my website because it's green.
Nah, I just haven't been online. I haven't been online.
So you should probably change that color.
Yeah, you should change that color.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah, but yeah,
color.
I posted all the information for that like
Oh, dope.
a while back. So
I'm gonna pick your brain later on thoughts on those upgrades.
yeah.
Yeah, because I know.
I have lots of thoughts about the Quantum, and I've been selling gear, but that's not.
Yeah, the Quantum, you got to sell your car.
Yeah.
It's really honestly like I was looking at used prices, and I found one for like $3,500, and I'm like, I'm actually willing to pay that. Now here's the problem: is that
ain't much different than what it is anyway, though, right?
They're like $442, something like that.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
But regardless, like I'm kind of if I'm honest, I really every single time that I've used one in person, I walked away from it like, meh, I don't really need it. Like every single time. And I want to like it because on paper it's like my perfect synth. And then every time I use it, I'm left feeling kind of uninspired and like, wow, the filters don't do it for me, and the method of programming didn't really do it for me, and which is really weird. So I kind of feel like I need to own one and then decide, and then like so probably own one. And then
You just want to own one.
yeah.
Ken wants two of everything.
Of course.
No, I only want two of everything that's good. Like I want two ER301s. I want less of my rhythms. And no, I'm kidding. I've actually grown to kind of.
Don't make me talk about the 10 gigs of samples you have of that shitty drum machine.
Oh shoot! Let me tell you about that real quick. Before we go off the air, let me tell you about that. Literally today, I was using them. Today. Like, for real. Hold on. Check it out. Right here. Look. Right here. And look, it's on battery power and everything. It's powered up and everything.
Yeah.
Yo, today, I was rocking those same samples. Like, man, I processed the crap out of them. Hold on.
Oh, this is going somewhere. I'm going to zoom in.
Hold on. Where's the... Here it is. Look. I don't know if this is plugged up or not because I've been changing things around all over the place. So I don't know what this is going to. Oh, we don't have sound. Hold on. I gotta throw this into here because I've been processing my MPC through the ER301. So hold on.
This is like Mad TV right now.
Mad.
Hold on. I gotta change my.
I told you Ken was our balcony.
Yeah, Balky was the place to be. Balky Beats.
Yo, this is those samples, man. So I did like 500 samples of that horrible ass drum machine, and
why'd you do 500 samples though?
yeah, so I manipulated the hell out of them and turned them into the what do you call it? Yeah. So that's the Tomcat.
500 samples of the Tomcat.
Yeah, I went in. Yo, you don't want to know how many I did of the Rhythm Wolf.
Oh my god, yo! I never heard such a thing.
I did.
Yo, I did. Hold on. I pull up I put it. So here's the thing: is for some reason I imported them all to my MPC. Right? I sampled every single knob position and every combination of every knob position on the Rhythm Wolf and on the Tomcat. So, and on the Tomcat, you got the FM drum, so there was a lot of them that I had to do. But I sampled every single one. And it wasn't for a job, I just did it.
You lost me so long ago.
But then I imported them all to the MPC. Like, I got them all on this drive on the MPC, and I never touched them. And then today I was like, I'm going to use them. I had to process the shit out of them, though.
Well, guys, I gotta run. But
yeah, I was about to say I gotta run too.
Guys, have a blessed day. I'll talk to you guys later on the polo. I'll see you in a bit.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
Go out and buy yourself a Tomcat.
No.
And before I go, I just want to say, go to the BeatPPL.com, go to the website, BeatPPL.com, check out this new layers kit. Here's what's dope about the layers kit, and I'll probably demo it on a live stream here shortly. But the idea of the layers kit, it's the DRM1 analog drum machine, and there's 32 pads of this
Not
kit.
a Tomcat.
Not a Tomcat, a really good drum machine. There's 32 pads, and so the each pad has 4 layers in the MPC or the Force. So if you have that, but all of these samples, 128 samples, it's 4 layers per pad with 32 pads, and it kind of cycles through the drums, and they're all kind of related sounds per pad. So it cycles through the drums. So it's more of a dynamic analog drum kit for your MPC. And also the Ableton drum rack is also included as well. So yeah, it's a really dope kit. It's heavy, it's strong, and actually I wish I could play Upright's demo because it's a really dope demo. But yeah, go there, check it out. And you got anything, Ken?
You know what? I'm probably gonna put out a free Tomcat sample pack this weekend. I'm really not even kidding.
Well, you may as well. You done the work now.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna put out a free sample pack this weekend, but I'm also gonna put out another sample pack that will be pay. Both are gonna be usable. Both are gonna be dope, and both will probably be, I'll probably put a lot more samples in the paid one, just because I want people to get their money's worth whenever I do anything. And Steele will fully criticize me and ridicule me for the fact that I put way too many samples in my packs. But anyway, I'm gonna I have an idea for a sample pack that I really wanted to put out, so I'm gonna do it this weekend and put it out this weekend. And it'll be in waveform. Like I might do some kits for different maybe for MPC and machine. I'm not sure, but I'll put it out this weekend. So probably by the end of Sunday, just check shop.fluxwithit.com and you'll find another free kit. I've already got some free kits up there, but you'll find another free kit, and I'll have a new paid kit that will be worth the money and then some.
Yo, and one question about this this kit here that I wanted to answer. The question is, does the Ableton drum rack cycle like the MPC? Yes, it does. And so, I got a shout out to my man, Mike Check, for hooking that up for me. But so I'm going to update the package with the Ableton rack that cycles too. So anybody that's bought it will get the update, and anybody that's going to buy it will obviously get that with the, the raw samples as compatible
so
with.
So it's an MPC and Force one, right?
Yeah, it's an MPC expansion. As obviously we'll work on the Force and the MPC, but then I also got the same thing, the drum rack set up for it for Ableton Live. But if you don't have any of that stuff, or you just got some other sampler, all good, because all of the 128 samples are there, so it's good content no matter what. So yeah, check that out. And here's a pro tip: go to the Beat People IG page. That's just Instagram.com/BeatPPL, BeatPPL, and you'll find a code for 10 or 15% off. Go now.
That's right.
No doubt. And yeah, that's what's up.
Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Please come again.